I'm Damon Hatfield, and it's time to talk about Total War Troy. I'm joined by senior game designer Milcho Vasilev. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So tell us about Total War Troy. This the latest entry is going to be focusing on the Trojan War. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's going to be focusing on the age that was around the Trojan War and the Trojan War in particular.
Mm-hmm. And this is the first time that the Total War series has sort of been set in this era, right?
Yeah, it's not only that this is the first time that any Total War game is set in this era, but it's actually the first time that we go so much back in time, all the way to the Bronze Age.
So what are the two sides that are at war here? I mean, obviously we know, but sort of set it up for the version that you're going to be showing us.
Well, the game is inspired by Homer's epic, the Iliad and the Odyssey. So the two main sides that are going to be on the Trojan War are, of course, on one hand, the Trojans, and on the other hand, the Greeks, or the Achaeans, as they were called at the time. And the game starts with this whole conflict from when a Trojan prince by the name of Paris steals the wife of one of the Greek kings by the name of Menelaus, and sails her all the way to Troy, leading to what would later be known as the Trojan War.
Sure. So is Total War Troy going to feel familiar to fans of the Total War franchise?
Yes, it's going to feel familiar in the way that we're keeping the main formula of the game that has always been around. But we are also adding new features that are going to be seen for the first time in a Total War game.
So tell us about some of those new features.
One of the biggest new features that we're including is the new multiple resource economy that we have. Since this is the Bronze Age, and at the time they didn't really use a lot of money to trade, or gold, or coins, or anything of the sort, what they usually used was goods, like people would trade wood for food and other stuff. So what we did is instead of having just one resource with which you can use to buy anything in the game, in the economy of the game, there are multiple resources, each of which is used for different kinds of stuff. Like the food will be used to support your armies, where wood and stone would be used to construct new buildings and upgrade your settlements. Whereas gold would be, we still have gold, but gold is a very special type of resource, which is used only for select few things in it. One of the things being with the other new system that we have with the Divine Wheel system, which is our representation of the gods at the time. Because as you probably know, the people at the time in the Bronze Age were very, very religious. For them, the gods were not just something that some of them believed in or something, but they thought that the gods walk among them, and they all sought the favor of the gods in one way or another. And we have also represented that into Total War Troy, where you, as the player, choosing your nation, can choose a god, or maybe more than one, and try to gain his or her favor, and that will lead you to certain types of benefits inside the game, like in the battle or in the campaign even. It depends.
So speaking of that campaign, as we play through, are we going to get to play both sides of this conflict?
Yes, you are going to be able to choose from 8 different factions, each one being on one of the sides, either the side of the Greeks or the side of the Trojans. But since this is a Total War game, you can do something radical and try to change your allegiance, or want to play it your way, or just see what would happen if Achilles would actually ally with Hector instead of fight him to the death. And so, yeah, you could also do that in the game.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about the epic heroes that you're including.
Well, there are a lot of heroes that are in the Iliad and the Odyssey, and it was a really hard time for us choosing which ones we wanted to make the epic heroes the
Hmm.
center of the Total War saga Troy. Obviously, some of them are no-brainers, so to say, because you can't have the Trojan War without having Achilles, without having Hector, without having Menelaus, who was wronged, and the whole war started because of Paris, who is also into the game.
Hmm.
And so we've tried to pick the ones that were most how should I put it, most influential to the war and
Hmm.
most important to it, as well as offer the greatest variety of different gameplay mechanics to them, because we
Hmm.
wanted to make sure that each epic hero feels different in the way they play, so that when the players choose to try out a new hero or a new campaign, they can experience it in a different way, with different campaign mechanics that are unique for the hero, different
Hmm.
battle abilities, battle units, and so on.
And then you can also take sort of more fantastical units into battle with you. Is that right? So, for example, like a Cyclops.
Yeah. So we what we are doing is one of our main design pillars is to show what is the truth behind the myth in this age that's so long past,
Hmm.
and what we know that every myth and every legend is probably embedded in some sort of event or something that really happened.
Hmm.
So we try to unravel the mysteries of time and see what could actually have inspired stuff like that. And one of the ways we do that is like with the epic mythic units that you can recruit in your armies. Like one of the units you probably saw in our footage is the Minotaur, who
Hmm.
is not like a real Minotaur who is half bull half human, but is this huge bull of a man with a large bull skull on top of his head to
Hmm.
scare off enemies, wielding a large two-handed axe. And but he's probably some bandit lord who is trying to incorporate the myths of old and say and sow fear into the eyes of his enemies by his visual appearance. But
Sure.
yes, he is a unique type of unit that you can see in the game, as well as others. I believe you
Oh.
also saw the centaur, who are
Hmm.
believed to be half human, half horse. Whereas in truth, what believe it, the thing that inspired that would be that some people from some tribe maybe were so attuned with their horses and were so used to riding them and even fighting from their back, which was something that didn't really happen in that era, that some people would say and believe that they're one with their horse. And so that's how we have represented the centaur, for example, in Total War Troy.
That's a really cool way to sort of represent the myths of the time. Tell us about how the divine wills work.
Well, as I said previously, the player has an access to a special new system, which is the Divine Will system, which represents the pantheon of the Greek gods. And in the Trojan War, the gods actually, according to Omer, took active part in the war itself, some being on the side of the Trojans, others being on the side of the Achaeans. And here, this is also the case, whereas when doing certain stuff in the game, depending on what god you want to appease, you may gain their favor. Or you may use special types of agents or other actions that to gain the favor of the gods that you choose to be aligned with. And
Hmm.
depending on which gods you choose, you're going to get different types of benefits into the game. Like, for example, appealing Ares, who is the god of war, will, of course, make your troops much better in battle.
Hmm.
Though appeasing Apollo, who is also believed, apart from being the god of poetry and music, is also the god of the archers favored. So appeasing him would make your archers be more accurate or fire faster inside battles. So even though the gods don't appear as entities inside the battles, the very fact that the people waging those wars believed that the gods were staying behind them makes them perform better into the
I see.
battles.
Well, Total War Troy is looking very cool. What's the release plan? Is it still on track to be released this year?
We will be announcing a release date really, really soon. So yeah,
Okay.
stay tuned for that.
Okay, we definitely will. Milcho, thank you so much for joining me today.